Hello! Because this is my last run of the prologue, I'm gonna start out with the opening. Why is that black bar there? Oh well.
Lives in a monochrome world, broken from the sight through her lonely eyes. It reflects the ocean and stars, but her cry echoes around the simple loss of love in her heart, making this whole fairy tale alive. Within sorrow's tender embrace, this was never meant to happen. The day, the only reason you have to stay. Hear me sing my song and just keep holding on. Cinderella, why don't you stay with me tonight? We will dance until midnight comes and we could run away. Oh, we will never ever be apart. Set aside all your fears, this magic lives inside your heart. I am here, would you wanna stay with me tonight? Follow me, we will run across the bridge of fantasy. Oh, all the pain and sadness that you feel, believe in me, hold me close, don't never let me go. Come and stay with me forever. Magic lives so long as I am here.
So yeah, that might be the last time I show the opening song, so I figured I would just let it play uninterrupted. Oh man, 4 out of 5 roots down. Okay, so I am, as I've done with all the previous roots, I am gonna start this with the prologue and chapter 1 and chapter 2. Gonna do the same thing I did last time and split chapter 1 into 2 parts. So it'll be prologue this week, most of chapter 1 next week, the rest of chapter 1 and chapter 2 the week after, and then we will really get started on Fritz's root. So let's see, that's mid-November. No, sorry, I said Fritz's root. I meant Waltz's root. We just finished Fritz's root. Alright. So I am looking forward to this, and also, you know, I was thinking about it and I had totally forgotten that my, relative streaming anniversary has come and gone. But I was thinking about it because I have, starting a new route that is the final route in this, and I was thinking about how this was the first thing that I started streaming on a regular schedule. So, and that was back last October, so. Just feeling a little nostalgic. Hello, Johnny One Take. Alright, so I'm gonna probably, oh, hello, Ice Starmie. So I'm pretty excited, but I have made a choice that is going to take 3 weeks before I actually get to the main route by starting over at the prologue. But I am probably going to try to get through all of the first 3 parts, so the prologue, chapter 1, chapter 2, comparatively quickly, without a lot of extra commentary, because it's if you want my extra commentary on those, you can go watch the 4 other runs I did. Obviously, I'll still respond to people's comments and stuff, but I might, I guess the goal is to kind of breeze through a bit for these first chapters, just to kind of re-establish the setting and the storyline. Alright. Do not need a basics on the tutorial. So, once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, there were 2 crystals. One was the Crystallum Lucis, protected by the ruler of the fairies. The other was the Crystallum Tenebrarum, which was watched over by the high leader of the witches. The Lucis was sustained by love, happiness, and joy. The Tenebrarum by fear, anger, and hatred. The fairies and witches lived in harmony with the humans of the kingdom. They regulated the powers of the crystals in order to maintain balance between darkness and light. for there can be no joy without sadness, no courage without fear. The kingdom was at peace for a time. Then, one day, a traveling bard decided to write stories, tales of the magic and wonders of the kingdom. He named these stories fairy tales. In fairy tales, light always emerged victorious, and true love was a usual reward. The fairy tales spread further than could have been predicted. The humans of the kingdom began to believe that the fairy tales were true, and that the magic of the witches was inherently wicked and cruel. The witches became hated and feared. Eventually, they were hunted like animals. The witch hunt. The high leader of the witches, in all of her anger, created the fairy tale curse. You think we are wicked? So be it. Just as you have taken our happily ever afters, we shall take yours. The witches used the fairy tale curse to attack humans indiscriminately, ultimately throwing the kingdom into chaos and darkness. The ruler of the fairies, the Lucis Bearer, sought to regain peace, but the witches were blinded by their hatred for humans, who were responsible for the witch genocide. A terrible war, the Great War, began. Eventually, the Tenebrarum Bearer, the high leader of the witches, was finally defeated. The Tenebrarum was lost, peace was restored, and the light once again triumphed. But darkness can never fully disappear. It waits in the shadows, patient for when its time will inevitably return. Prologue. Ice Princess. Alright, and now that I've gotten through all that, I know I said I would keep to minimal comments, but I'm just like, every time I go through that, I'm like, oh my god. Oh my gosh, like, people are incredibly unsympathetic to the incredibly valid grievances of the witches. Like, oh my gosh, like, they were treated horrifically, like, and honestly, the fairy tale curses just don't even seem that bad in comparison to the witch genocide. So yeah, no, every time I watch that, I am reminded of how just deeply distressing the history of this world is. I am hopeful that maybe in Waltz's route we will get a more complete end that is like more that kind of deals with some of that unresolved the unresolved pain of the witches, I guess, essentially. So well, one can hope. My name is Lucette Riella Breton, daughter of King Gennaro Breton III. I am the crown princess of the kingdom of Angiel. At least, that was who I used to be. But that was before yesterday, when I became a victim of the infamous fairy tale curse. Everyone has forgotten my birthright. Now I am nothing more than a lowly peasant. I feel like I am stuck in a nightmare. But no, this is my reality now. I still have no idea what I must do to break the curse. I close my eyes and remember that day. It had started out like any other day. Mayday. Have you heard? Another person was cursed! Lucette. Silence. I am on my way to the dining hall for breakfast when I stop and listen to the sound of hushed voices. There are two maids standing next to each other with brooms in hand. Lucette thinking to herself. These two are slacking off again. Maid B. That's terrible! What fairy tale curse was it? Maid A. They say it was Pinocchio. Maid B. Pinocchio? The fairy tale with the lying boy whose nose grows longer? That's awful! Maid A. You know, more and more people have been getting cursed lately. You think those wicked witches are up to something again? Maid B. I thought the fairy tale curses would stop after you-know-who was defeated. Lucette. You two were hired to work, not talk. Maid B. Shocked. Maid A. We're sorry, Your Highness! Lucette. As can only be expected from the likes of them. Another fairy tale curse. The fairy tale curse started spreading even before the Great War began. I do not have much interest in its effects, even now. After all, most humans probably deserve to get cursed. The victims are weak. Angiel would be better off without the dead weight. Lucette thinking to herself. If it were up to Mother, the cursed would have been banished from Angiel the instant they fell prey to it. But Mother is not here anymore. And she will not come back, ever. Maid. Princess, the king and queen are waiting in the dining hall. Yeah, Ice Starmie, sorry, just checking in on chat. Ice Starmie says, I'll be honest, I also have some sympathy for the witches, even the Tenebrarum bearer, considering how horribly they were treated. Yeah, absolutely. Like, one of the reasons last year I talked so much about just believing that Hildir was kind of, I guess, possessed by the spirit of the Tenebrarum, like, was because I really don't think, like, even without the magical influence, like, that kind of horror can fuck anyone up. You know? So. You know, I can only imagine that these maids were scared to have been overheard by Lucette, considering who they were talking about. Yeah, Ice Starmie, I agree. Lucette. I am on my way. The king, Ophelia, and Rod are all present in the dining hall. Someone is conspicuously missing, but I ignore their absence. King Gennaro. Good morning, Lucette. Lucette. Good morning, Your Majesty. Ophelia. Good morning, Lucette. Lucette. Silence. King Gennaro. Lucette. Lucette. Ophelia. Ophelia. Silence. Ophelia Widensov. Every day I wonder why my father, the king, married a lowly baker. She could never be a true queen, for she pales in comparison to Mother. I take my seat next to the king, then look up at the person sitting opposite me. Rod Benedict Widensov, my stepbrother, is bored and quiet as usual. He is 2 years my junior, and is the younger of Ophelia's children. He is mute and uses a plush bunny to voice his thoughts. It was apparently given to him by a fairy. Rod. Silence. He minds his own business and is easy to deal with. But his older sister... My eyes go to the empty seat beside him. Lucette thinking to herself. She is probably the most infuriating person I have ever had the displeasure of knowing. Emily. I'm so sorry I'm late. I was reading and forgot the time. Lucette thinking to herself. And here she is. Emily. Good morning, dear father, mother. Good morning, Rod. And good morning to you too, Lucette. It's a beautiful morning, isn't it? Lucette. Silence. Emmeline Widensov, Rod's elder sister and my stepsister. She acts as if we were blood, as if she too were born a princess, as if she could be crown princess, perhaps steal my place. I will never let that happen. King Gennaro. Now that everyone is here, let us begin. Butlers glide inside with silver trays to carefully serve us breakfast. Ophelia. So, Emmeline, you were reading the fairy tale books that the king brought you? Emmeline. Oh yes, there are so many, and they are all so wonderful. Thank you so much, Father. King Gennaro. I'm happy that you like them. Emmeline. I love them. It's so strange that the library didn't have any of them to begin with. Lucette. That is because Mother hated them. She had all the books burned. Emily, shocked. But why? They are such charming stories. Lucette. Fairy tales mislead humans into believing that they can have things they do not deserve. Fame, riches, love, happily ever afters. King Gennaro. Silence. Lucette. And when their wishes do not come to fruition exactly as they want them to, The humans blame the witches for granting them in the first place. King Gennaro. What are you implying about the witches, Lucette? The atmosphere shifts, the air in the room growing heavy. I continue to eat. Lucette. Perhaps witches are not responsible for the evil in this world. Say it again louder for the back. Just, yes. Oh my gosh, everyone freaks out because of who she is the daughter of, but she is so very right. The witches were not, in fact, at fault for everything horrible in the world. If anyone was, I dare say it was the humans. Anyway. Lucette. Perhaps humans are the cause of their own downfall. In fact. King Gennaro. Have you any idea what you are talking about, child? Witches have caused nothing but pain and suffering to this kingdom. After humans decided to... Yeah, no, sorry, it's the same thing. I'm not going to keep repeating myself, but, like, yes, it is... Lucette, what Lucette said holds a lot of weight, in my opinion. Like, maybe witches aren't responsible for literally all of the evils of the world. Maybe humans are largely the cause of their own downfall. Now, I mean, sure, maybe innocent humans were getting cursed fairy tale curses, but, like, on the whole, if you're going to blame an entire category of people, it is much more on the humans than on the witches in this world, as to what went wrong. Anyway. King Gennaro. Even now, they still spread the fairy tale curse to our innocent subjects. The truth is, I know very little about the time the witches had free reign over Angiel. I was very young then, and Mother forbade me to leave the palace, sometimes even my room. I know nothing of the people's supposed pain and suffering. Lucette, thinking to herself. Mother kept me away from everyone. And so, I cannot bring myself to care. Lucette. How do you know the cursed are innocent? King Gennaro. Our people have been toiling day and night to rebuild Angiel after the Great War. Our people are the kingdom's foundation, and I am endlessly grateful for their determination and resolve. Every day I wonder what your mother taught you about... Lucette. Leave Mother out of this! King Gennaro. Silence. Ophelia. Dear, please. King Gennaro. More silence. Ophelia. Lucette, darling, your father didn't mean to... Lucette. I am not one of your children, Ophelia. I do not need your sympathy. Ophelia, shocked. King Gennaro. Lucette, you will show your mother respect. Lucette. She is not my mother. I set down my fork and knife and stand up. Out loud. I am done. Excuse me. My father and I have never got on, but our relationship has significantly worsened since he married the baker. Lucette, thinking to herself. My father, the king. It has been 17 years, and I have never felt any love from him. He treats Emmeline and Rod, who only entered our life 1 year ago, like his own children. Better than he has ever treated me. This has been my life ever since Mother passed away 4 years ago. Lucette, thinking to herself. Mother was the only one that was there for me when no one else was. If it wasn't for the accident during the Great War, she would still be here. Man. Why the sour face so early in the morning, princess? Oh, Fritz, I hope you get a nice ending in this route. My boy. Man. Let me guess. It's the king, the queen, or Princess Emmeline. Or is it all of them? I ignore his question. Lucette. Fritz, what are you doing here so early? Fritz. I'm running some errands for my father. Fitzgerald Aidan Leverton, son of the highest knight of the Order of Caldera. His father, Sir Alcaster, has served the royal family for many years. Sir Alcaster is one of the king's most trusted advisors. Gosh, though, King Gennaro is such a bad judge of character. Alcaster and myth, like, oh, buddy. 3 years ago, Fritz was assigned the honor of becoming my personal knight. His presence is the only company I can tolerate nowadays. Lucette. You should wait in the throne room, then. Fritz. Thank you. Silence. Princess? Lucette. Yes? Fritz. You know, I haven't seen you smile once since I met you. Lucette. Why is that of any importance? Fritz. Silence. Still, I do hope to see you smile one day, Princess. Lucette. Silence. Fritz. Well, I won't take up more of your time. I'll see you at 10. Lucette. 10? Fritz. Don't tell me you've forgotten. Lucette. Forgotten what? Fritz. You're going to town today, remember? I deflate as the realization dawns upon me. It has been 2 days since the king issued the order. King Gennaro. Lucette, I would like you to accompany Emmeline on one of her town outings. Lucette. Silence. Surely you could send maids with her instead. King Gennaro. I would not have requested you to accompany her if I was going to send her with maids. Lucette. Silence. King Gennaro. I want you to make an effort to get along with your sister. Lucette. Step-sister. King Gennaro. She is your sister, and you will treat her and Rod as if they were your blood. Lucette. Silence. I just realized I read that wrong. Of your blood. King Gennaro. 2 days from now, you are going to accompany Emmeline outside. Lucette. Shocked. King Gennaro. It has been 4 years since you last left the palace. Ever since then, you have locked yourself away. You barely leave your room. Angiel was in the grip of war back then, but now the kingdom is safe and back to its former glory. I want you to see how beautiful Angiel really is. Lucette, a princess must know her kingdom. Go with Emmeline and she will show you the town that you only ever see through your windows. Lucette. Silence. Is that an order? King Gennaro. If it needs to be. Lucette. Silence. King Gennaro. Are we clear? Lucette. Silence. King Gennaro. Lucette. Lucette. Understood. Oh my gosh, though, like, that's just so naive of him. I mean, we know that King Gennaro is really naive because of a lot of stuff from all of the previous routes thus far, but it's, like, incredibly naive of him to be like, oh, she'll go into town and she'll see how wonderful the town is, and just not even think about the fact that people are still terrified of her, and that's not really going to leave a good impression? Oh well. The last time I left the palace was 4 years ago, when the king took me with him to check on the people after the Great War had ended. I shake my head, removing myself from the memory. Lucette, thinking to herself. I am safe here. Fritz. Princess, are you alright? Lucette. Silence. Fritz. It won't be that bad. The townsfolk are good people. Lucette. How can you be so sure? Fritz. Silence. Times have changed. People change. You know, actually, I like that view because it's like, maybe people have come around and are generally less shitty than they used to be. I don't know. Hard to tell. Lucette. Yeah, exactly, I started. If you'd only open your eyes, you'd see how good people really are, Gennaro says. Then Lucette is thrown into the streets and they treat her badly. Like, I just that nobody considers that, and, like, also it seems like King Gennaro has to know that she doesn't remember about her mother, and he's just never bothered to try and tell her. And I mean, we know Gennaro's just kind of useless is the problem. Like, he's like, oh, she probably won't believe me, oh, woe is me, my daughter hates me, so I'm not going to try at all to connect with her. That's kind of that is my opinion of Gennaro. Lucette. That is precisely the problem. Lucette, thinking to herself. Mother never changed. Mother loved me until the end. you know what? As fucked as her love was, I will give her mother credit. I do believe that her mother on some level genuinely loved her. Fritz, silence. Sometimes change is for the better, Princess. I think you'll see that today. If you'll excuse me, I shall see you later. And Fritz, I think he was just thinking that it'll be nice for her to see a happy, bustling town, and also just wasn't really thinking through people's negative reactions to her. Lucette. Delora, do you think witches are capable of bringing back the dead? Delora. Silence. Lucette. I wish you could talk to me, you and the others. My dolls are my only friends. They are the only ones I can trust. Unlike humans, they will never betray me. Of course, we well know by this point famous last words. They will never hurt me. They will always be there for me. The moment I saw Delora, I knew she was special. She was different, so elegant and realistic it was almost as if she was breathing. She was a gift from the king on my 17th birthday. I only started receiving dolls from him when Mother passed away. Mother does not believe in birthday celebrations, but every year at midnight a ladder would appear under my door. It would contain instructions leading me through the palace on an adventure to a room filled with gifts, cakes, and sweets. A child's dream. I'd been fascinated by the dolls, which had always held a little greeting card. A card with the words, I love you, on it, signed by M. The card would tell me to keep those celebrations a special secret, but I didn't need to be told that. Mother always found a way to show me she still cared, in her own way. The secret celebrations had stopped as soon as she had disappeared. Lucette. Yes? Maid. Excuse me, Your Highness. The king has requested your presence. Lucette, thinking to herself. This had better not be another lecture. Out loud. Tell him I am on my way. Lucette. I will see you later, Delora. Okay, I'm gonna have some water. Delora. Silence. Man. Oh. Good morning, Your Highness. Lucette. Silence. Sir Mithros. Sir Mithros, the royal advisor. Father trusts him a great deal, just like he does Sir Alcaster, because he's a bad judge of character. Mithros. Every day you look more and more like your mother. Lucette. Silence. I sometimes find Sir Mithros talking to Mother's portrait when he thinks no one is looking. He must have admired her a lot, but I cannot bring myself to think highly of him. There is something about him that puts me on edge. Mithros. Are you on your way to see the king? I shall not keep you then. Until our next meeting, dear princess. Lucette. Silence. Your Majesty. King Gennaro. Lucette, are you ready? Lucette. Silence. King Gennaro. You will enjoy this, Lucette. I've heard the toy shop has lovely dolls. Lucette. Silence. King Gennaro. This will be good for you. You will get to know your sister better, and you will be able to interact with and learn about the people of Angiel, about our subjects. Lucette. I will not learn anything I do not already know. King Gennaro. Silence. Why do you always believe that the people around you are incapable of good? Lucette. Because I have seen how quickly people will betray and manipulate each other to get what they want. Mother warned me about human nature. King Gennaro. You do not see clearly, Lucette. If you would only open your eyes, you would be able to see how good people really are. Lucette. I believe I am already quite capable of seeing the true nature of people. After all, I have seen that there is no good in you. King Gennaro. Shocked. Lucette, Lucette. Where were you when I needed you 4 years ago? Where have you been ever since? Back then, I'd been overflowing with grief and pain. I'd just lost Mother, my entire world. I'd hoped that maybe then he would have shown me love and compassion. Even just a hug to let me know someone was there. King Gennaro. Silence. It had been a childish hope. I had been left alone. I did not see him for months, had barely even heard his voice. Lucette, thinking to herself, you cannot rely on anyone but yourself. You cannot trust anyone but yourself. This is what you have taught me, Your Majesty. King Gennaro. I know that I've hurt you. I know that there is nothing I can do to atone for what I did. So I'm not even gonna try. Sorry. I will try to stop complaining about Gennaro. I think everybody gets the idea by now. I have made my feelings on the matter very clear. King Gennaro. But please, Ophelia and her children are not a part of that. They do not deserve to be hated. Lucette. Silence. Thinking to herself. In the end, they still matter more to him than I ever did. King Gennaro. Lucette. Lucette. Enough. I have already said I will go. King Gennaro. Silence. Everyone is waiting outside. I shudder at the thought of leaving the palace after so many years. King Gennaro. Lucette, it will be okay. Lucette. How can you be so sure? King Gennaro. Silence. Thank you for agreeing to accompany Emmeline. Lucette. I would not disobey an order from the king. King Gennaro. Silence. Lucette. Excuse me. Girl. Hello, how can I help? No, sorry, it should have been, how can I help? Emmeline. Viorica! Viorica. Emmeline! Princess Emmeline! How good to see you! I trail Emmeline, ignoring her as she embraces her friend. I glance around the small shop. The dolls displayed are nowhere near the quality of the ones in my room. Lucette, thinking to herself. I cannot understand why Emmeline insisted she buy gifts for her friends here. I cannot believe I am outside the palace. Fritz. There's no need to be so tense, Princess. I would never let anything happen to you. Your only job is to relax and enjoy yourself. Lucette. You ask the impossible of me. Fritz. Silence. Emmeline. There is no need to be formal, Viorica. I'm still the same as I was. Oh yes, Rod's come along as well. Rod. It's been a while, Viorica. Viorica. It's good to see you again too, Rod. Emmeline. And I must introduce you to Her Highness, the Crown Princess Lucette. Viorica, shocked. The look on Viorica's face as she takes a step back from me is all too familiar. Fear. Viorica. My apologies for being so rude, Your Highness. Good morning. Lucette. Silence. Viorica. Emmeline. And this is Sir Fitzgerald, Sir Alcaster's son. Fritz. It is a pleasure to meet you, my lady. Viorica. Oh, you're Sir Fitzgerald? You really are as handsome as Emmeline described in her letters. Fritz. I'm sorry? Emmeline. Shocked. But please don't mind her, Sir Fitzgerald. Lucette. Silence. Viorica. I'm sorry, Emmeline. Fritz. Right. Emmeline. Viorica. So, what brings you all the way out here? Emmeline. Oh, I'm here to get some toys. Gifts for some new friends. Viorica. Toys? From here? Are you sure? Emmeline. Of course I am. I cross my arms. Lucette. I would prefer we finish this errand as quickly as possible. Viorica, shocked. Yes, of course. I'm sorry, Your Highness. Silence. Fritz. Princess. Lucette, thinking to herself. I can barely breathe in here. I just want to go back to the palace. Hello, Karma. Ice Star. He says, as far as I know, according to etiquette rules, you should introduce the lowest ranking person to the highest ranking person, so Emmeline should have introduced Viorica and Lucette instead of Lucette. Should have introduced Viorica to Lucette instead of Lucette to Viorica. That makes a lot of sense, but it also makes sense that she would have not thought to do that because she is still pretty new to the whole princess game, and we know from Rod's route that she is still struggling with her princess etiquette lessons. So she is just excited to introduce her new stepsister to her longtime friend, and probably did not even stop to think about. But absolutely, you're right. Like, that is an etiquette faux pas. Beautiful lady. Good morning. Lucette, shocked. Fritz, shocked. Rod, silence. Up until this point, I had always considered Mother to be the fairest beauty in the land. The lady that walks in proves me wrong. Her beauty is mesmerizing and clearly without peer. Everyone in the shop is openly staring. Viorica. Oh, you're early today, ma'am. Beautiful lady. I have some important errands to run later today. Are the items ready now? Viorica. Oh, of course. Let me go and fetch them for you. Yeah, Ice Army, that does also, it makes sense since the highest ranking person would probably be the most well-known, and well-known people don't need introductions as much. Yeah, for sure. And I'm also sure there's old nobility, court politeness, the introducing the lower ranked person to the higher ranked person also just makes sense in terms of how ranks work. But again, that's just not something that Emmeline is used to thinking about in her daily life. Yeah, no, Lucette is literally the crown princess. Most people will know who she is. Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably, to be fair, that is probably also a reasonable consideration. Viorica. Wow, okay, let me take a sip of water, try that again. Viorica. I'll just be one moment, Emmeline. Beautiful lady. Silence. Lucette. Why is she smiling at me? Viorica. Here you are, ma'am. Beautiful lady. Thank you. Emmeline. Ah, that lady was beautiful. Viorica. Right? Any girl standing next to her becomes hopelessly ugly by comparison. Must call out every time this happens. Don't make that comparison. It's not good for anyone. And it is not necessary. And also, beauty is incredibly subjective, and the only reason that Karma stands out as a peerless beauty is because he is literally cursed to do so. Oh, Ice Stormy, I was just responding, I was just agreeing with you before, and saying that, Emmeline probably just doesn't have courtly manners in mind, because she just didn't grow up with them, and so it doesn't occur to her. And I don't know what else you might have missed, but sorry about that. And then I was also just now complaining about the comparing oneself to others in the looks department is not helpful to anyone. Emmeline. Who is she? Viorica. She's new around town. Some say that she's a fairy. Lucette, thinking to herself. A fairy? Fairies had saved Angiel from the witches 4 years ago. Everyone considered them our saviors. Lucette, thinking to herself. And yet the fairies are still unable to stop the fairy tale curse from spreading. Viorica. Here you go. Thank you so much. Emmeline. No, thank you, Viorica. I hope to drop by again soon. Viorica. Good, I'll look forward to seeing you again. I hope to see you again soon as well, Rod. Rod, likewise. Lucette thinking to herself, leaving the palace was a bad idea. While I am out, I am the center of attention. Some townsfolk point and stare at me. Most, however, make a point of avoiding me, like I am the plague. There are some spiteful stares, but thankfully none are nearly as intense as they were 4 years ago. Lucette. Silence. Emily. I'm sure the townsfolk are only surprised to see you again after so many years. Lucette. Lucette. Right. Fritz and Rod lag behind us, which leaves only Emmeline walking beside me. Lucette thinking to herself, I cannot decide which is worse, the staring or her company. Emmeline. Oh, Lucette, look! A street performance! It's been so long since I last watched one. Lucette thinking to herself, street performance? Boy. Good day, everyone! My name is Waltz, and I'm here to spread some happiness and magic. The boy named Waltz snaps his fingers, and colorful flower petals start to rain down from the sky. Emily. Isn't that pretty, Lucette? Lucette. Silence. Waltz. And are those the princesses over there? It is an honor to have you in attendance. Please accept this humble gift. He snaps his fingers and white lilies appear in his hand. I just noticed, I don't know how it is not until the 5th run through that I noticed this. Maybe because I'm paying extra attention to Waltz, but because of course he knows Lucette's favorite flower. I still don't know how. I mean, obviously this is the room where we're gonna find out how he knew Lucette and how he knows Lucette already without Lucette knowing him. I mean, Lucette not knowing him is obviously because of her mother, but like how Waltz knows her is almost certainly going to come up during his route, but we still don't know at this point. Or I still don't know. But here, he sees them and he makes white lilies immediately because he knows that is, I am so sure it is because he knows that is Lucette's favorite flower. Emmeline. Oh, thank you! Lucette. Silence. Waltz. Silence. The boy looks at me as if expecting some kind of reaction. When he gets nothing from me, he sighs and gives me a wry smile. Waltz. I hope to see you again during my next show. Emmeline. We'll definitely try. He gracefully bows before moving back into his area to perform more magic tricks for a gathering crowd. Emmeline. There are performers like this all around Angiel. I love them. Maybe someday we'll get to see some musicians too. Those are my favorite. Lucette. I do not intend to leave the palace again. Emmeline, shocked. But you don't like it out here? Rod and I grew up here. I love Angiel, and this is my favorite part of the kingdom. Lucette. Silence. Emmeline. I wanted to share this with you, Lucette. I know you didn't really want to come, but you still tagged along. That means a lot to me, so thank you. Lucette. I did not do this for you. I am only here because the king ordered me to go with you. Emmeline. Silence. I just want us to be closer, Lucette. I would like to try and be your friend. Lucette. I do not want or need your friendship. Emmeline, shocked. Lucette. No matter how you act around me, we are not and will never be sisters. I'd take care to remember that if I were you. Oh, Ice Army, kind of breaking. Actually, no, you know what? I'll respond to that in a second. I want to not break the flow of this. Emmeline. But Rod suddenly grabs my hand, pulling me away from Emmeline. Rod, stop. He is staring daggers at me. I think this is the first time I've ever seen him angry. Emmeline. Rod, don't... Lucette. Let me go! Rod. Silence. Lucette. Both of you ought to stay away from me. I feel the heavy atmosphere as I turn to look at the people staring at us. Their expressions mirror the looks of disdain I saw years ago. Anger, disgust, hatred. I begin to walk away. Fritz. Princess, wait! Lucette. Don't follow me! Fritz. Princess! Alright, I started saying it's very interesting that Waltz conjures Lucette's favorite flower. Coincidence? We'll see. Yes. I adjust my cloak, making sure my face is hidden from view. Lucette thinking to herself, I never should have left the palace. As I walk around, I watch the people bumbling down the streets. Lucette thinking to herself, so carefree. They work so hard for so little reward. They could work their entire lives and never have a fraction of what I have. And yet, they are happy. And I... Woman A. I heard Annis lost her job at the palace. Woman B. It's true. Crown Princess Lucette made sure that the poor girl was fired. I stop in my tracks at the mention of my name. Woman A. Not again! Lucette thinking to herself. Annis? Was that the name of that one maid that tore Delora's dress? If so, my decision to fire her was justified. A palace maid cannot be clumsy. Why should I tolerate poor performance? Lucette thinking to herself. What did I do that was so wrong? Woman B. I know that, Annis. Hard-working and big-hearted. Very good with medicine. It's a shame she lost her job so quickly. Woman A. You know how hard the Crown Princess is to please. My friend at the palace says she doesn't even smile, only goes around with that cold look on her face. That's probably why they call her the Ice Princess. Lucette, shocked, thinking to herself, Ice Princess? So all those times I heard the servants saying that. I'd always suspected they were talking about me. Woman A. She's the complete opposite of our Princess Eveline. That child's an angel. We all know she should be crowned princess. Annoyance begins to simmer inside me. I cannot stand hearing anymore, so I walk away. Ever since Eveline entered my life, I am always being compared to her. And now, I have become second best. Lucette. I am Lucette Riella Breton, daughter of King Gennaro Breton III and the crown princess of the kingdom of Angiel. I am of royal blood. She is nothing. Fritz. There you are. Lucette. Silence. Fritz. Princess, you must come back with me. It is getting too late for you to remain outside. Lucette. Silence. Fritz. Princess? Are you alright? Are you hurt? I brush him off and turn away. Lucette. No need to fuss. Let us return to the palace. Fritz. Silence. Leaving the palace was physically and mentally draining. My bed is welcoming to my unusually heavy body. I turn my head and meet Delora's glassy gaze from where she sits on my shelf. Lucette. I left the palace today, Delora. It was the same as all those years ago. Everyone looked at me like I was... What have I ever done to deserve those looks? How can I be so hated? You know what I never thought of, actually, just watching this? I wonder if this is what made Delora decide to curse Lucette. Specifically, I wonder if she actually was... I mean, it's still kind of poorly thought out, but I wonder if the intention was actually... I wonder if Delora's intention after hearing that was... Oh! Like, I'm wondering if Delora heard that, went, oh, she's never going to be able to experience people being good and kind if they're all still afraid of her because of being, the daughter of Hildir and all that. what if I made the entire kingdom forget who she is? Then she can start from scratch and make new impression, like, you know, make a new impression on people, and maybe they won't judge her so harshly, and she'll be able to be judged on her own merits. Like, you know, Ice Stormy, I'm sure she had been thinking about it for a while. Like, I'm not trying to say that it was a spur of the moment decision, but like, I genuinely wonder if this helped influence her decision to make it so that the entire kingdom forgot Lucette, so that Lucette wouldn't be dealing with as much of people just hating and fearing her because of her mother. And I mean, she may have decided, you know, I think you're right, Ice Stormy, she absolutely had this plan before this day, but it might be that this was what, like, solidified it for her. Like, because she clearly had been watching Lucette for a while, probably, you know, presumably trying to decide if and when she was going to put that curse out, so it might have been that this was the day she decided, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do it. After hearing that, she's just like, yep, now is the time. And she might have thrown in the whole being a peasant at first because she was frustrated with Lucette, but that's still, there's still a lot of stuff that we'll see in Prologue Chapter 1 and I think also Chapter 2, where Delora is, you know, also, knowing what I know from the previous thing, I'm now wondering if Delora also was kind of going out of her way to be extra strict with Lucette because she was trying to avoid, like, she was trying not to take a motherly role with Lucette. She was trying to specifically go out of her way to avoid that, because of being still probably pretty messed up about the death of her own daughter. So that may have led to her being harsher than she needed to be because she was trying to keep a separation and had already started possibly developing, like, maternal and, you know, extremely caring feelings for her after being, you know, a doll for her for so long. And, you know, maybe I am just looking for ways to justify Delora's actions because I just liked her so dang much in Fritz's route. But, like, I think it's a valid read within what we know of her personality. She was getting really emotionally attached to Lucette, and she decided to be extra harsh to try and increase her own emotional separation. Yes, and Ice Stormy, I like forcing Lucette to interact with people and giving her a chance to be seen by the townsfolk was probably Delora's intention. Still, you maintain that there were better ways to deal with the situation than the curse. I absolutely agree. Like, this was a poorly thought out plan all around. But it does feel very much like, you know, what it kind of reads like to me is Delora being like, okay, we gotta do something, and Parfait being like wishy-washy and being like, well, I don't know, maybe it'll be fine. And Delora pushing, but no, we gotta do something, and then Parfait's like, well, what if we did this? And then, like, came up with the initial plan, and Delora's like, cool, Parfait totally knows what she's talking about, so I will just do whatever Parfait says. And that was, I mean, okay, that's actually not being fair to Delora's sense of agency. Delora and Parfait probably put their heads together and came up with this plan because they were desperate and they had no better ideas, but it's like, guys, your failing point was at least 4 years ago, when you should have introduced yourself to her immediately and, like, been there with her as she dealt with grief over losing her mother. But, you know, coulda, woulda, shoulda, wouldn't have had a plot if they did that, so whatever. I still like the read that Delora really did have, I mean, it's clear that Delora had earnest intentions with this. She really did think it was for Lucette's own good, even if we, the audience, are a little questioning of that decision. And I also, it helps me a lot with justifying in the next 2 chapters, like, how harsh she is to Lucette when knowing about the situation with, like, her child and the trauma with that, and, like, I like my new and improved headcanon that she was intentionally forcing a sense of separation, since now that she's actually directly interacting with Lucette as a person instead of as a doll. Anyway, so this was her How Can I Be So Hated? Ice Princess. Lucette. Silence. I wish Mother was here. No, you don't. I mean, yes. Right now, she believes she does, but we saw how that one went last session. Last route. I look at the smiling faces of my dolls. Lucette. At least I still have all of you. I yawn and stretch my arms. Lucette. Good night, Delora. Voice. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Lucette, thinking to herself. Singing? But who? Voice. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Lucette, silence. Voice. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. I also look forward to hearing more about why that song is important to Delora. Oh, fair enough, Ice Starmie. We don't know exactly how they came up with this plan. The one thing we know for sure is that they both had a hand in the planning. The rest is up to headcanon, and your headcanon is that the plan was derived more by Delora, but Parfait gave her okay. Yeah, I could see that. Like, I can also see Delora being well-meaning but not well thought out generally, and also being the one to be more likely to take action, because, like, I feel like Parfait's fatal flaw is a tendency towards passiveness and inaction. Whereas Delora, I think, just doesn't always think things through as much as she could. I blink my eyes open, only to see Delora sitting right in front of me on my bed. Moonlight spills across her delicate features. Delora. How I wonder what you are. Wasn't she on the shelf with all of the other dolls when I went to bed? Lucette. Delora? Delora. It's almost time. Lucette, shocked. I pinch my cheeks to make sure I am not dreaming. It hurts. Delora. Only 10 more minutes before the clock strikes 12. I hope you're ready, princess. Lucette. What? My doll just turned into a human. How? Out loud. Who are you? Delora. You know who I am. I've been watching you since the day your father gave me to you. Lucette. What is happening? I don't think I have ever been so confused in my life. Delora. All the answers will come with time, but right now, I am here to give you something, princess. Lucette. Is this... Delora. Cinderella's very own glass slipper. It is beautiful. Too beautiful. Then, a realization begins to dawn upon me. Lucette. You're a witch! Delora. Smart girl. I knew you'd figure that out eventually. Now it's time to say goodbye to your precious crown. Lucette. What? Delora. Sweet dreams! I'm kind of mad that it only bongs twice when you could, come on game, you could have gone for all 12. But that would have taken a long time, I'll admit. Right, so Delora. Sweet dreams, Cinderella. Right, that's a big moment, but it's not actually the new chapter. So, alright, keep going. Woman. Hey! Wake up, girl! Lucette. Huh? Where am I? Ow, my head! Woman. You have some nerve sleeping in front of my shop! Leave before a customer sees you! Lucette. Shocked. Thinking to herself. I was in my room. How am I here? Woman. Did you not hear what I said, you filthy child? Lucette. Filthy? You would speak to your crown princess in such a manner? Woman. If you're the crown princess, then I'm the queen. You must have been knocked on the head quite hard to have such grand delusions. Lucette. I am not delusional. I am Lucette Riella Breton, blood daughter of King Gennaro Breton III and the crown princess of Angiel. Woman. Right. The king never had a daughter with that witch. Lucette, thinking to herself. Is she referring to mother? Out loud. Witch? Woman. Don't pretend to be stupid, girl. I can only stare at her, puzzled. Woman. Our good king only has his stepchildren, Princess Emmeline and Prince Rod. And you are most definitely neither of them. Lucette. What? Woman. Now get gone before you go spouting your crazy gibberish at my customers and scare them away. With a huff, she leaves me to my own rapidly turning thoughts. I quickly realize that I am wearing tattered clothes, and I do not even have shoes on. Lucette, shocked. No. No! No! This cannot be happening! Something shines against my chest, and I reach up to grab it. This is... It all floods back. Delora being a witch. Cinderella's glass slipper. This is not a dream. Lucette out loud. Delora gave me the fairy tale curse! My hands begin to tremble. Out loud. I must return to the palace to speak with the king. Let me in! Night A. Sorry, girl, but this place is off limits to uninvited guests. Lucette. You do not understand! I am Crown Princess Lucette Riella Breton. I must speak with my father. As loath as I am to call him that, I have to. No one will believe me if I am addressing him by title. Night B. You'd best leave now, nice and quiet, before we have to force you. Lucette. If you would only... Night C. Make way for the king! The gates swing open and 3 horses trot out. Soldiers ride 2 of the horses, while the last horse has a different, familiar rider. Lucette. Father! I immediately move to block the path of his horse. The soldiers move to hold me back. Night B. Your Majesty! King Gennaro. What is this? Night A. Your Majesty, this girl is claiming to be your daughter. King Gennaro. Daughter? Both of my stepchildren are in the palace right now. Lucette, thinking to herself. What? Even father is a part of this? Out loud. Father, you must help me. King Gennaro. Silence. Lucette. A witch has cursed me. Thinking to herself. For once in your life, just once, help me. Out loud. You must believe me. King Gennaro. Silence. Tell me, where is your family, child? Why are you all alone? He looks at me with pity in his eyes. He is looking at me more kindly as a peasant than he ever did when I was the crown princess and his daughter. I recoil. King Gennaro. Silence. You must be hungry. Take this. This should feed you and your family for a day or 2. The kingdom offers work opportunities to those who need them. Please let your parents know. Again, that's just so naive of him. Like, bold of you to assume, if you're looking at this girl and thinking she's a random peasant child, bold of you to assume she has parents. Lucette. I do not want your pity. Father! King Gennaro. Please escort this girl back to her home. Make sure she gets there safely. Knights. At once, your majesty. I watch as my father and his 2 guards ride away on their horses, leaving me to stand in their dust. Lucette, thinking to herself. He left me alone. Again. Night A. Where is your home, girl? Lucette, thinking to herself. There is nowhere left for me to go. Father has forgotten me. Out loud. Leave me. Knight B. Now look here, our orders were to... Lucette. Leave me alone. Knight A. Silence. Suit yourself. Can't say we didn't try. Knight B. Don't cause any more scenes, little girl. I watch with bleary eyes as the soldiers return to the palace. Lucette thinking to herself, how can this be happening? I stare at the small pouch in my hands. Lucette, silence. I do not know what hurts more. The fact that I have just been unceremoniously paraded away from my home, like I am nothing more than a piece of garbage, or the fact that my own father does not recognize me. Noblewoman A. Oh, look at that girl's hideous dress! Noblewoman B. How difficult it is to be poor! I clutch the pouch closer to my chest as I run into an empty alley. I huddle in a corner, trying to become as small as possible. I squeeze my eyes shut, hoping that when I next open them, everything will be back to normal. Lucette. Out loud. A dream? Mother. And here is a flashback sequence. Theoretically, anyone who's watching at this point will hopefully have seen some of my other streams, but in case not, her mother was very emotionally abusive. In case you haven't picked that up from stuff we've already been saying, so... blanket content warning for all of her past life memories about her mother. Mother. No matter what happens, you must not leave the palace. Young Lucette. Why? Mother. The world is cruel. People will only ever hurt you. Young Lucette. But they're always so nice to me. Mother. That is only because you are the crown princess. They will only ever think of what they can take from you. Young Lucette. Silence. Mother. I am trying to protect you, my love. That is why you must never leave the palace. Never leave Mother. I am the only one who will ever love you so much. Do you understand? Young Lucette. I understand. And I will leave off with that one more time, which I'm pretty sure I have given this content warning after every single time that particular memory has come up, but anyone who is like, no one else will ever love you the way I do or as much as I do, that is incredibly unhealthy and an extremely big red flag. They start me. You know, I really wish they had explained how they convinced Gennaro to buy the Delora doll for Lucette. Technically, Gennaro could have bought another doll. My headcanon is they talked to the toy seller and asked the toy seller to show the Delora doll to the king. Considering the Delora doll was more realistic than the other dolls, there was a good chance the king would buy her. Still, this is all headcanon of mine since we don't know how they made sure that the king would choose the Delora doll for Lucette. Yeah, like... that's all a very good point, Ice Starmie. I think my headcanon might be, like, that they just sort of... they've definitely established that witches can kind of mess with people's minds. So maybe, like, it might even just be as simple as they made sure that Delora in doll mode was in the proper toy shop, and that Delora just sort of whammied him to want to buy her. But on the other hand, like, you do make a good point that, like, you know, Delora as a doll is far more realistic than any other doll and would clearly have then looked like the highest quality, so... But yeah, obviously he wasn't in on it, so... like, it's not like they just showed up and was like, hey, we're gonna turn this witch into a doll, give her to your daughter. So he probably had no idea, but yeah, no, I feel like there's a lot of ways you could go with that headcanon, but it's kind of interesting that they never explain it. But yeah, anyway, so thank you so much, Ice Starmie. As always, I appreciate you hanging out and chatting, and also thank you, Johnny, for stopping in earlier, and thank you anyone else who might have been lurking, and anyone who is watching this later. I appreciate you all very much, and with that, I'm gonna head off.